All right, so DSP Mountain, the corporate records cleanup demo. I'm just going to go off camera just to save bandwidth so Eric can have it all. He's going to switch over to a demo in a second, so let me stop my camera. Okay, great. So where we're looking at is a detour. So what happens for a variety of reasons when traveling is sometimes your car breaks down or it's in need of repairs. So we have made a stop at DSP Mountain, which is a product that stands for Open Text Voltage Data Security Platform. Now, this was formerly known as DDRI, or Data Discovery, Risk and Insights, and before that, it was simply Voltage Fusion, I should say. DSP is a tool, a fundamental tool to help an organization who wants to discover, classify, excuse me. I'm very excited. It's very exciting. I have to slow down. It is a tool that helps an organization discover, classify, analyze, and act on your unstructured information across all your repositories, and that includes sensitive data, redundant content, obsolete material, all of these reasons, and all of these types of data in order for you to clear up. So go ahead, Eric. Next slide.
You don't want to talk about the garbage truck? This is a great part because you got to get a big truck to get over the mountain and all the stuff in it so you can take it all away.
You do need a big truck.
Sorry.
Okay, we're going to start with a poll. No, that's great. So let's start with a poll just to get an idea of where everybody is. I'm going to launch the poll. And if the poll is simply asking you, if you had to spend 2 hours doing one of these activities, what would you prefer or what would you choose? The poll should be up now. Would you want to clean your digital files and emails? Would you like to fold laundry for 2 weeks of laundry? Would you like to attend a dentist appointment, or do you want to assemble some IKEA furniture with or without the instructions?
Do I have a problem if I like to do those things?
I do like IKEA furniture, so that's what I'm going to select.
No. I'm joining in as well. I'm cleaning up.
Well, I can see. Nobody wants to go to the dentist so far. And hopefully we're going to get the results that we're expecting.
Sorry, I think I may have skewed your results.
That's okay, Eric. All right. Well, a lot of people like to clean up the digital files and emails. All right, I'll let that one go. I'll let the survey go. That's great. So it looks like we're getting, first is IKEA, which is always fun. The second, people actually do want to clean up their digital files and emails. So that kind of works for the purpose of this presentation. Although we weren't expecting, I was hoping that some of the other ones would have won, and nobody wants to update and clean up their data. Eric, next slide, please. Because the cleanup process, no matter what we're doing, is almost the same thing. So let's look at cleaning up. How many of us like to do housework or clean our house, or in this picture example, clean a garage? How do we normally approach a cleanup effort of this sort? I personally want to get my car in the garage over the winter, but right now there's no room for it. It kind of looks like this. This is not an actual photo, thankfully, but some people's garages can look like this. How do you approach a cleanup generally? Usually you kind of decide on the objects. You target the stuff you want to keep. You would find stuff you might want to donate or sell, possibly make a little bit of money for those garage sales. And obviously there's stuff that is going to be disposed of. Along that journey, some of your things have value, some have risk, maybe like a faulty lawnmower or faulty tool you don't want to keep. And just some things don't belong. We could look at like VHS tapes. What are we going to do with those? Vinyl. I mean, vinyl's kind of hot with the younger generation these days, so you can definitely sell that. Not that I have a phonograph to play that. But that's kind of the process you're going to take. You're going to look at your garage, you want to clean it up, and you want to get it to a state where it will stay clean. So things have their place, tools go back where they should, bikes go on their stand. Eric, were you going to say something? I thought I heard something.
No, I don't use the term phonograph, but I know it exists. Just saying.
Well, yeah, it was a phonograph, record, turntable, and stereo. I was schooled on the difference between turntable and stereo. They are different. But anyways, next slide, please. What we can do is now, if we look at our corporate records, we have that same kind of approach, whether it's electronic files on the left of your screen or going into that file room on the right. It's still that process of touching, identifying and making a decision, and then making an action, whether it be preserve, protect, or dispose. And from the physical world, it doesn't get much easier. You're still going to potentially have to go in there and look and touch and see everything that you have. Fortunately, on the electronic world, we do have some tools. And that's the whole point of today's demonstration, is to show you a little bit of the tool DSP by OpenText. Eric's going to do a demonstration that takes you through the process of cleaning electronic files and information. Next slide, please, Eric.
I see storage issues, electronic and physical, in those screenshots.
It's crazy. That C drive is pretty full. I'm going to launch the next poll. I did have 3, but I'm going to spare everybody and only send out 2. But the next poll is just this one here. Let me launch it, and I'll talk through it so you guys can populate it. There we go. So how would you describe your current digital environment? Is it organized and under control? Is it a little cluttered but manageable? Do you avoid opening certain folders out of fear? Or if archaeologists search your shared drive, they discover an entire civilization. Of course, as most of us are content manager users, we can assume that that part of our records retention is properly managed with security and retention, and that's okay. What we're really focusing on is that unstructured realm in your organization, your SharePoint sites, your network shares, your users' C drives, if you still allow that, or whatnot. So how do you feel that your larger organization is as a company? I think from content manager, I don't want to say for information first. Maybe I'll put in my answer. I don't think we're scared of anything, but oh, that's good. Everybody's a little cluttered but manageable. That's excellent. Well, someone out there is organized. Good.
Sorry. Pretty proud of
that's
the
okay,
organization we have.
Awesome. Okay. Next slide, please, Eric. So what are some of the reasons that might drive an organization to get ordered, to get organized, I should say? You know, I know my scenario back to the garage. I want to get my car in for the winter. That's my motivation to clean it. But what might an organization be faced with that might be encouraging them to get organized? And I think the chat is open if anyone wants to chat or come off mute if you have any ideas.
I think your car going into the garage could be considered potentially a migration or an acquisition.
Nice.
I'm not saying I'm foreshadowing, but I'm foreshadowing.
You know, maybe I'm just stressed of finding all my tool. I can never find the Robinson screwdriver I need, and that's a Canadian screwdriver that's a square. Or the Phillips. I can't find those. So I need to organize my garage so that when I go to do some work around the house, things are easy to find. So efficiency. What else can we think of? I may have stuff in my garage I don't know that I have. Maybe I have some outdated.
You have what's called dark data. It's not because you don't have the light on. I'm just saying.
That's right.
You can't see it.
That's
you
true.
don't know what you don't have.
God knows what my kids have brought home.
Exactly. There's other people involved.
Actually, Eric, next slide. There are 8 common use cases why an organization may be forced or wanting or being able to clean up their data. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, Eric, because you've got the demo queued up and you can talk to these.
Sure. Thank you, Bo. I think this slide is probably seen in many different presentations. And these use cases, we're talking about use case here, and these are really areas of opportunity. You know, everybody has issues with storage, you know, growing. There's a migration here and there and everywhere. People are having productivity issues. A hot one is AI readiness. Everybody's probably been asked to do and put together a pilot with AI, but what is AI learning from? We all know sensitive data needs to be handled appropriately for regulatory reasons and to protect the end user. There may be insider risks that could be accidental or on purpose, and what can they get a hold of? And do people know what they can get a hold of? An acquisition, maybe data's coming in. And then all of that kind of underscored by legal audit or compliance, making sure that the house is in order so that they can get to what they need to, because we want to avoid fines or other places. So these type of use cases, I'm bringing up our actual scenarios that have been brought to us related to these topics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what'll be a series of screenshots from the data security platform to be able to show you what we can do to be able to address some of these areas. So the storage growth being that first use case, someone came to us and said, hey, we are about to breach our quota in SharePoint, and then in order to get more storage, that's a dollar cost to it. So they wanted to avoid having to go into the next bracket of storage they have to do for SharePoint. This could also relate to a file share. Things are filling up. Are you just going to buy more storage, or what can we do for that type of scenario? So this was something that was brought to us this way. So maybe there's some quick wins. So in DSP, or Data Security Platform, you're scanning what could be a file share, what could be SharePoint, Content Manager, Google Drive, OneDrive, a lot of different unstructured locations. We'll talk about there are structured locations too to scan, but just taking a look at a simple scenario of a file share or a network file share, we have some quick and simple dashboards based off of just metadata, right? We're just doing a quick scan that's going to be able to show us, what exists in that file share: title, dates, sizes, file extensions, the file path, and from that, what kind of quick wins can we do? And so maybe the age says, hey, are you really needing to, add a particular set of storage, and then because you're holding on to a whole lot of old data. So maybe there's a quick win over here. There's some data that hasn't been modified in over 5 years. These numbers are just examples. I mean, whether it's 11 documents or 1100, the scenario exists. Do you really need in a department that may have a retention schedule of things need to be kept for 5 years? If it's been over 5 years, what is it doing there? So can we make some quick decisions based off of some simple graphs with a quick scan that says, here's some files from 1996. According to a file share, which we know has inconsistent set of metadata, ownership and responsibility or accountability, and then somebody's managed to create a folder called never delete. Absolutely seen in the wild. Who is responsible for this type of thing? And in this scenario, this may be an opportunity to say this is obsolete or this potentially trivial type of data, and we can make a quick decision on some of that. Maybe it's 11 files or maybe it's 1100, but being able to see this and be able to take action on it. Migrations. We have, and probably everybody's gone through a scenario where it is file shares. Hey, we should clean those up. We don't want to live in them anymore. There's not good accountability. There's not good audit. There's not good organization of it because it's lived there for what could be 25 years now. And we want to migrate that to the cloud. Well, are you going to lift and shift, or are you going to migrate what is actually of value? And is there a time frame or a cutoff? And you may be hiring somebody to do that migration. And in that hiring process, they're saying, oh, you've got 10 terabytes or 100 terabytes. It's going to take this much time to migrate that data to your cloud. The scenario was, brought to us. We have this much data. Can you reduce it? Well, it's a quick way to help out the migration team, and also help out, for the governance of what you have in there. Is that, hey, why is 80% of our files that's sitting over there going to be migrated if it's sitting in the miscellaneous category? What is that? And so that dark data that Bo was saying, you don't know what you don't have. What is that? How can we reduce the volume that needs to be migrated? These quick metadata only scans have realized, oh my goodness, that's a 4 gig file. How long does a 4 gig file take to migrate, and how many of them are there? And these scenarios can really start to give you some smart decision making skills to say, hey, here's what we can go through, whether it's a memory, a Windows heap memory dump file, or other things that you found. These are things that we now know. Let's make some governance decisions going forward. These are the things that aren't going anywhere and should be considered redundant, obsolete, or trivial, and we should get rid of those quite quickly. The business Eric, will help. Will love you for that. Yes.
that graph you had, can we tweak the file types that are in those categories?
Of course, yeah. It's a scenario. Well, these are the out of the box, and then these are grouped together. These things could be updated so you can see specific extensions, and I might be. We can certainly provide ways you can improve what is considered unknown to say, all right, these are now known files.
Excellent, thank you.
Now, productivity. How many times have you gone into a file share and found that you're not looking at what you wanted to find, or you do a search, the browsing function is just taking too much time? And so people have really brought up, hey, how can we improve the ability for us to not only search for stuff and reduce the amount of time end users are taking, but also then find the things that we know we need to delete? One common practice is that, well, if it's got draft in the title, or maybe it's got delete in a folder name, we saw a never delete folder, we can do these type of queries with a quick and easy metadata scan to be able to identify this is something that we, if people are making these titling decisions, we can use that going forward to say, here's how we can find these things, to be able to either categorize them because they have value, or put them into the bucket of this is something that is rot. So, show me something that has draft in the title. That's a very simple search. Show me something that has delete in the file path, and then you can start to see and then filter via a browse option. Here's where that file share exists, and oh look, the items that we searched for exist in these two places, in a delete folder and a never delete folder, whatever it is. But I mean, you have very quick and easy ways, and simple, relatable ways to be able to browse through these file shares to be able to see what fits that search criteria.
That's great, Eric. We all know end users find a way to cope and come up with their own conventions, so that's excellent.
And they're going to keep creating those folders until the type of governance is kind of put into place to say, hey, this is the recommendation, because if you don't follow the recommendation, audit may get you. We're going to say, hey, this is how mature you are in information governance, and you're trying to move into a more productive workday. Now, another area is that you've found duplicate files or redundant files. With a simple metadata scan, you're also able to perform a deduplication and locate redundant files. And a very important conversation to have is, it's redundant, so you delete the redundant one, right? Well, you also have to have the master conversation, which is the master file and which is the duplicate. And so there's very important ways and in decisions to be made here to say, is it duplicate because it's the newest modified date, or is it a duplicate because it's not in the records repository that we've scanned? We can see it in the records repository and we see it outside it. We want the ones that are outside of it to be considered duplicates. And then you can see down here, it's using a binary hash to be able to locate content within there, but really it's using just a simple metadata scan. And then you can say this particular file is a duplicate of the master. This master is the record number here is located in Content Manager.
Hey, Eric.
Yes, Sherry.
How do you decide if something is an original or if it's a duplicate? Like if a group email is sent out, it's in 8 different outlooks. Maybe one person drops it in a Teams folder. Maybe another person actually saves it into like a share file or a SharePoint site, but it is also in Outlook. Like, how do you decide which of all of those instances is going to be the master?
That's good. That is exactly the scenario when you're making that type of deduplication workbook. And what that is a conversation is that, number one, you've scanned across Outlook, Exchange. You've scanned the file share, you've scanned Content Manager, and then a OneDrive. And so from those particular locations, that email did, one person of the 16 people put it in Content Manager. but the content's going to be, the hash is going to be the same. So you can indicate then the master is going to be in Content Manager, and then the others would be considered duplicates, and then we can remove those. So it's a good conversation, but it is one that is a matter of understanding that you're going to have to scan these several different places and then have and then determine, all right, our governance is if it lives here, then the rest are going to be considered duplicate. Next, I think some people's favorite, I think it's one of my favorites because it is, some of these other scenarios or use cases have always existed, but in the last several years, AI readiness has come up. It's supercharged the reason for an information cleanup conversation, because when you have now a high-powered computer going through what could be file shares, what could be OneDrive, what could be SharePoint, what is it learning and what decisions could it be providing to end users that are asking it questions? Is it learning based off of clean data? Is it learning based off of obsolete, redundant, or trivial data? And that's really where, in order to get where we need to go and learn about, what is the content that AI is learning from, AI is going to be reading the content. We need to be able to surface and understand what's in there as well to say, hey, AI, yes, you can have this, or no, this is rot. We need to make sure that we're not giving an AI pilot the ability to go after that. So we're switching from scanning metadata to now scanning content as well. And with that, maybe there's a particular spreadsheet. In that spreadsheet, the tool or end users or potentially an AI may come in and say, hey, I found social security numbers. It assigns a risk score. It has done some extraction to say, hey, we found this. Now, is an AI going to understand the same thing, or should this be something that we give to AI and make some decisions there? Now, according to this scenario, we can see in that number, it looks like a social security number, but it's actually just a particular number related to some budget tracking. And the tool has indicated that it's about 50% confident it's a social security number. We can mark that as a false positive, and maybe this is where a decision is made. Yep, it's a false positive, and yes, this is the type of file that we do want to feed into a pilot because we know it's clean. So going forward, there will be some ability to have an AI help with some of these decisions to reduce the number of false positives. But this is it's definitely an area in which you want to know what's out there and make sure that it is appropriate sets of data to be able to give to your new best friend in AI world to be able to help you make some business decisions. But they need to make business decisions based off of things that are not rot and appropriately categorized. Now with that, now we're starting to get into, all right, we know we can find a particular set of content because we've done a content index to see what's in there. Potentially, there's a scenario in which there's an acquisition. Now, this has also happened. Someone comes to us and said, hey, we are acquiring this data, but we want to make sure that we are taking exactly what we want and giving it to the right people in the company. So in a content search, you can also perform what would be a custom search variables. So maybe there's particular sets of intellectual property, drug names, patent information. I'm using this as a part number, and you can be able to put together a query that says, this is what the part numbers look like. Go find all of those because we need to make sure that this data goes to the right location. This is what's come from this company that we've acquired. Also to mention, in the last week, there was news that a particular search engine purchased the data from a particular bankrupt airline company. And the comment was, yes, this data has been cleaned prior to giving it to that search data. So think about this for a second. Data could be acquired by another company that they're going to use it to train their AI model. Is it going to be learning off of valuable data, or has it been cleaned, or what can we do to make sure that you as an end user are protecting what you have in there, and not knowing that it has the potential to be purchased by a different company. I think that headline scared me.
That does scare.
So it is scary. So that sensitive data, what can happen? In a scenario where we do find a social security number, what can we do? So in the scenario, we've got content. We know it's a social security number. It was 100% sure it was a social security number. What can we do with it to make sure this becomes a clean file? And if that company purchased all the data, or AI is going to scan and analyze all this type of data, what is going to be considered clean? So once you find it, can we mask it? And so the tool has the ability to come in and say, yep, we found this. Social security numbers should not be viewable. And this would be protecting not only the end user whose number it is, or the person doing the research. They're searching through all types of data. You want to make sure that person's protected and not exposed to a massive amount of PII, or sensitive information. So the tool has that capability to make sure that you are protected in what you see. Now, that says, well, could there be some insider risk issues as well? We've found that sensitive data. Yes, we know you've protected it from the user doing the research. We want to make sure we're protecting the person whose PII has been found, because either on purpose or by accident, somebody sees it. How can we make sure these things are cleaned up and prevent against some insider risk? So we can do a masking function, and this will mask the files and create either a PDF or the native format of the file to ensure that now we have clean items, protecting the end user, the ability to give it to the AI, because we know it's clean now, and I hope that company's data was clean before it was given to a search engine to train their AI. You can see here would be the source file. Yes, it was a file that had DOCX and with a social security number, but it can then be redacted into a format where it is now clean, removing that social security number from it.
But just to be clear, that's somebody who's responsible for kind of analyzing the data results from the tool, not being able to see sensitive data in that role.
First, yes. For the first component of that is making sure in the tool they can't see it, but they also have the ability to affect the files at the source.
Excellent.
Making it clean for your end users to be able to, your AI to be able to crawl clean data. And then finally, we know that there are legal holds out there. There is audit. There is a reporting and compliance set up that people need to be able to adhere to make sure that, yes, you've crawled across a lot of different data. What can you do to it? And then prove to us that you did what you needed to do, according to governance rules, according to regulatory rules, litigation rules. So here's some example file actions. You want to put something on hold because it's met a particular legal query, and make sure that it doesn't get destroyed because other people may consider it rot. Send it to a particular location where it's more protected, masked, as we saw before. We can put the mask the credit card number or social security number, protect, delete. All these things have a function within the tool that gives you confidence and accountability that everything is done appropriately, because you are privy to what should be a mountain of data out there. I'm going to go over here now and bring you to where my login is. Any questions as I log in here?
I don't see any questions, Eric, but I'll just, Holly has a question. See if we can unmute her.
Hey there.
She's.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we know that there's the risk of exposing private data from AI crawling full collections before doing cleanup. What other kind of risks are we facing if we don't do cleanup prior to that AI crawl?
I'm afraid of decisions being made on old data. If somebody brings up a presentation like that, none of that data is even relevant anymore. So I think the obsolete and potentially redundant functions that we're trying to clean up for, if you're training an AI, what kind of decisions is it going to make? Exposing sensitive data is one thing, but someone's going to ask a question, say, oh yeah, based off of this, this is your answer. And that it could be obsolete and completely old news that no one should make a business decision off of. I think that's one area.
That makes sense.
Thank you. So this is the interface. I do see anybody that's at risk of falling over because we're calling it DSP or Data Security Platform. The name will change shortly. On the website, you will see it listed that way as Voltage Data Security Platform at OpenText. But what we're looking at here is this SaaS solution in which you're given a great ability to analyze and make decisions off of a lot of different, what could be different sources. I can pull up a data set here that we were looking at earlier and apply what could be a lot of different ways to filter through, see, click through, and find the files that we've been talking about. Whether it's the giant 4 gig file that we don't need sitting from a particular location, or being able to go in and take action on the type of data that has been sitting out there in a cleanup workspace, removing the redundant items, removing the items that may be trivial or obsolete. And then at the end, being able to have a report card to say, here's the report that comes out of it, automatically spits out a PDF indicating, here's all the files we found, here's the actions that were taken, and here's the metrics that audit and compliance and regulatory really likes to use, because now we know we're improving the governance of that source, and we're proving that we've gotten the appropriate actions taken. So any other questions? I think this concludes most of the demonstration component.
Perfect. Yeah, we're great on time, Eric, so we can slowly sum up. But if you could, when you go back to the PowerPoint, just put it on that 8 use cases, because I think one of the things that really jumps out is there is no one. They all overlap. I know from my experience, I like the AI preparedness, because you got a cloud migration, you've got AI potential in the future, maybe you've just acquired, they're going to overlap. And then along the way, we can pick out our legal and audit requirements and make sure that's good. We can manage our sensitive. So whatever the reason is, definitely just getting an idea, getting knowledge is power, getting knowledge of your data. And
knowledge is power, and you're also creating more accountability. I think a file share has little to no accountability, and it may have been just given to the IT department to say, hey, here's what you have, make sure we have enough space. But you're really starting to add in, but we need to have, there's application security, there's network security. We're looking at actual data security here. We're really looking at the content to make sure that we're acting on things that may have not happened, or may have not happened over the last 15 or 20 years. And it creates an accountability that really will improve as people move through unstructured and structured data governance in their new repositories, which could be in the cloud and other places.
So we did have a question from the audience, Eric, if you want, for collecting data into Content Manager from these tools, what type of data mapping is available to ensure the shifting data doesn't just bring all the garbage with it? So that's great. We haven't mentioned how it does integrate with Content Manager, so that is one of your viable targets for protection, if you will. Go ahead.
Sure. I think it's a great option when you have it connected to Content Manager, because the first area is everything that we have out there is it also in Content Manager, right? If it's in SharePoint or OneDrive or other places, you have all these different locations, and being able to compare against is a really, really big component. On average, we see about 30% of the data out there, maybe in a file share, is redundant. It's also in another location, and as Content Manager is your central records repository, let's remove it from the other location and start to improve not only getting rid of 30%, being able to compare, and then knowing that it's been categorized, because you'll also be able to see the record type and the category of the file from Content Manager as well.
I guess that goes back to Sherry's question, that Content Manager is a great starting point for your master location, because you've already done the due diligence on that information.
Agreed. I think we could be biased.
We could be biased, but we'll try not to be. Let's just jump to the summary section, I guess. Slide 30.
This one.
I think you're going in the other way. No. Jump up to 30. You were there. We'll just kind of review. Yeah, 2, 3 more up. Yes. So just to review the process, regardless, home cleaning or corporate cleaning, you're going to identify what you want to keep. You're going to figure out what you want to protect, and you're going to find the stuff that you need to dispose of. Go ahead. Next slide. We love the ROT. I've personally been working with Control Point previously. This was the other product. Now we've got DSP, and ROT has been a theme definitely through all these products: the redundant, the duplicates, the obsolete, the stuff that is just like VHS tapes, WordPerfect. Remember WordPerfect files, and then trivial, which could be just the MDBs, the thumbnails, the links, things like that. And it's not the old stuff; it's just managing it. Obsolete is usually time-based. Like how many of you could confidently maybe just delete anything prior to 2010? That's like 16-year-old data, files and bitmaps or whatnot. Would you confidently feel that you could just purge those right away? I mean, those are all
confidently, happily.
And
I will mention, after going through some of these processes, the person doing it says, you don't know how pleasant this process is to see it actually happen, to know it, because people have been holding on to these things for 15 or 20 years, and you don't want to be handed the keys to 20 terabytes of data that's 80% obsolete. It makes you feel really good. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right. And then the next slide, I think it's just kind of a re-representation of the same concept: keep, protect, and dispose of. A little more colorful. And then really, what are the benefits when this is done, when you've done any of your cleanup and organization? Next slide. The lower risk, Eric mentioned the purchase of an organization buying data. Like data is now a commodity, obviously. And so minimizing your data before something unfortunate like a bankruptcy happens, it certainly helps. Better security, easier to manage, faster searching. Eric, you want to do the bottom 3?
Better AI, yes, of course. If that supercharged computer is going to go through that in light seconds, light speed, you want to make sure it has and is surfacing valuable data, not obsolete data, not trivial data. And that compliance is, yes, we know that there is a retention schedule sitting in Content Manager. We can apply some of those same type of triggers and say, well, this is an area that has 5 years or 7 years. After that, it can go. And so you can really improve the compliance of those locations outside Content Manager to be able to say, yep, and then show that report. Yes, we are doing retention even outside the records repository. And then, of course, lower cost. The fear of what would happen when the IT person has to produce their next budget because they had to double their cost for storage in SharePoint. It was real, And they said, I can't believe that's the cost that we have to do. So we really need to do a cleanup to lower that cost.
Excellent. Okay, and I think the last slide is that our summary, or is there? Oh, the PII story. That's right. Being able to identify and classify against PII is certainly key.
Yeah, I think as you said, data is a commodity, and people are looking for that type of information because that has value either in hackers' hands or insider threats that are trying to sell that information. That has valuable. It's valuable to them. So you want to make sure that that's why GDPR exists. Other places that have a privacy regulation in the United States, you need to have the ability to remove that information because you need to you yourself be protected, and there are regulations out there that are requiring that. So finding it, masking it, and protecting the end user, improving the privacy.
Excellent. Very good.
Asset minimization. Yeah, these are frameworks that exist across so many different companies. Minimize the amount of data that you hold on to. Make sure there's a purpose for it, and that there is retention. We don't delete anything is not an option anymore. That's an untenable business case. We just keep everything. That will get you in trouble. But then you also have defensible disposition showing that you're following a process, showing that you have performed the destruction, whether it's physical records or this electronic records. You need to be able to show that you're following that process, and that's keeping everybody in line and improving information governance across the board.
Excellent.
So I think this has given us all the time we need to talk about it. And any closing messages?
That's right.
Any closing thoughts? Any closing questions?
So yeah, if there's any questions, we'll certainly take any closing questions. And then I did have some statistics. We can release it in the materials, but from recent studies, 33% of information in an organization can be considered rot, and then there's a 52% kind of dark data of data that requires assessment. I mean, they just don't know what that stuff is. So there's a lot of information in organizations now that can be managed and addressed, and hopefully make themselves more compliant. And add content. Yes, go ahead.
No, I was saying good. I think we're ready to go.
Perfect. All right, that's it for this webinar. Thank you all who have joined. Next week, in 2 weeks, we're going to have a webinar featuring reporting, and then shortly after that, we're going to be doing the AI discussion. So again, thank you all for joining. We'll send out a follow-up to this meeting. I've been a little tardy on the video, so I'll send out a video for this webinar and the previous one. It's all available on our website. And again, thank you all for participating, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.